Welcome to the Forging Podcast, where our mission is to forge guys into godly husbands, fathers, men, and leaders in their communities. We push out of our comfort zone, face our fears, and grow stronger every day. We strive to be selfless providers, dangerous protectors, loving husbands, fathers, and friends. I hope you all enjoy the podcast.
You ever seen the movie Lone Survivor? Survivor?
Yeah.
You know, when they start and they're racing and they're running?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Mike Murphy, that was his workout. It's like a CrossFit workout. So every Memorial Day, people get together and they do the Murph. And they'll have like races and stuff like that.
Yes.
Who am I racing?
Huh?
Who am I racing?
Well, if it's just us doing it, you'll be racing me and Jared.
I'd smoke y'all.
Probably.
I can see that.
Y'all right.
I can see that.
See it too.
There was a time, boy, I'd run them down.
Yeah.
I would run them down. It ain't no more, though.
Well, you can get there.
I got it. Hey, I'm not Toby Keith song. I ain't
as good as I once was. But I'm good once.
Are you still as good once? Look, you ever was?
From here to the road, I got them.
Yeah?
Dude.
That's a good haul.
I can get them from here to the road.
That's what?
That's pretty good.
50, 75 yards to the road from here?
We have to take that.
Yards.
Yeah, probably
We
about
have to
100
do that
yards.
agility course every year.
Yeah.
That's about how far we have to run.
So as long as I can outrun
There and
100
back.
I'm good.
There and back. Yeah. I mean, for us old guys, but just let them young guys get after you.
Yeah. My running days slowed down after I broke my leg.
Yeah.
It was a while since I could run again, and I just don't really run. Now, if I'm running, you probably ought to run too, because there's something after me.
I hate running.
I passed the torch, man. Them young boys and run after folks.
Yeah. Now you just drive and pick them up when they're done running.
Yeah.
I like it.
Wait till they get tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, just drive up beside them, open the door. Trip them up.
Oh, man. So.
I had my first fan encounter yesterday.
Whoa. What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Somebody
I'm serious.
That's all.
Like somebody that you knew or don't know? Or?
No, I didn't know 'em.
Wow, okay.
I mean, they turned out to have a connection, but yesterday everybody went to the park for that birthday or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
So
I didn't know all the cool people were going to be there. I had no idea. My wife's like, "Yeah, we're going to go to the park." Blah blah blah. I mean, I'm thinking it's just a bunch of chicks doing their thing, and I'm like, "Well, I've got to build a deck, so have a nice day." So.
Well, I was, out of chickens and stuff, and
Okay.
Courtney asked me if I wanted to go. And I said, I'll go if you want me to. So anyway, we ended up staying a lot later than what we thought, and it's getting close to supper time. We're coming back through Hamilton. I said, why don't we just go through O'Brien's? It's not going to cost us that much more to do that than do whatever. So I'm standing there waiting to pay after we have ate, and I noticed this guy to my left kind of looking in my direction. And,
So you're getting your gun ready, like,
no, at first,
Why is he staring
I
at
didn't
me?
think much of it. And then, so I'm just kind of side watching him.
Yeah.
And then it gets so obvious that I need to address it. So I turn and look at him, eye to eye, and he goes, "Brett," and I said,
Uh-oh.
What did I do?
I said, "Yeah."
Dad?
I said, "Yeah," and he come up and shook my hand. He said, "I'm really enjoying the podcast." And
wow!
I was like, "Really?" And
Why you always seem so surprised that people enjoy all of our nonsense on
and
here?
he said, it was Kerry McCollum.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
it was. Yeah, and I thanked him real big or whatever, but I was just shocked that we ran into somebody.
Yeah. That's cool.
But anyway.
Well, shout out to Kerry McCollum. Thanks for listening. And you had Brett a little uncomfortable for a minute, and now he's excited. So that's cool.
You recording yet?
Yeah. I've been recording. Why, you trying to take phone calls?
I thought about it.
So we got Chris on here, Mr. Important, and he's always getting phone calls. What, somebody breaking the law and you got to go after him?
That was what it was. That was exactly what this is, the bat phone.
Oh, that's the bat phone. What happens if your bat phone don't work? Do you look into the sky and you see an image of Chris?
No, it's the image of a chubby guy.
Of your belly?
Like this.
I like it.
That's me.
Oh, it was so funny. I pulled up. I was on the phone with my buddy when I pulled up, and I looked right at the shooting house. Door swings open, and there's old Chris with his belly hanging out. I said, "Oh, son, we got the sun in the sky, and we got the sun in the door."
Yep. And you bailed out of that truck in a run.
Oh man, I come running. It was like da 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 da. Chariots of fire all the way.
Coming to hug me.
Man.
That's what happens.
You know,
That belly comes out.
You are a sexy beast.
No. There was a time when I was.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to give us a cool song. You know, people are enjoying them songs that we're doing when you come hang out with us. So I'll probably have to record some more today.
Okay.
Afterwards. Of
We
your
can do that.
amazing singing.
Did you pick some?
I may not have, though I said I was going to.
What kind of song?
I'm just slacking. I am.
I beat you here.
You did. You did.
I beat Brett here.
And that's pretty bad.
I seen you coming.
But he still got here first. I mean, you're coming out of South Winfield, almost Fayette.
Yeah.
Or Fett, as you guys. Fett.
Yeah.
Fett. I don't know how you guys. I don't know how. I say Fayette, but
It's
it's Fayette. Fayette. But you guys like to say Fett. F-E-T.
It's different.
You don't say that unless you're from that area.
Unless you're from Fett.
Yeah.
So how do you say Fayette?
Fayette.
See, even Brett knows how to say it.
It depends on your level.
But I lived there for a
rednectivity.
while. That's why.
You lived out in Fayette before?
Yeah.
Huh. I thought you always been a Hackleburg boy.
Well, I have, but I went out there for baseball, college, junior college for a while.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Shoot. Yeah, old Chris, he's out there knocking on Fayette's door.
Yeah.
So that's a good haul to get out here to Hackytown.
Mm-hmm.
And you still beat the guy that lives across the street from his shooting house.
Bergs.
Nah, I was here.
Birdman.
I was here when I woke up.
He was probably out there.
He was sleeping
watching.
here on the chair. Oh, man. So,
I raced one time from Fayette.
you did what?
We raced, me and a buddy of mine. I bet you I made that drive, and it's been a long time ago, but I bet I made it in less than 30 minutes.
Good grief.
Fayette to here? Mm-hmm. Lord.
Dude, you
Or
was
from
cooking.
Hackleburg. Oh, yeah. We was motoring.
You had to fuse that.
I mean, it takes me about 35 minutes from Ewan. And it takes me 30 minutes to get out to Fayette. Or 30 or 40, whatever it is, from Ewan. But, of course, you probably got some other routes. But still, that's a haul.
We went through B Mountain and all that. Or I went through B Mountain. The guy who was racing me, he went 253.
Okay.
I beat him.
Man. Old Red.
Barely. He was
Brett-
topping the hill when I went by.
Oh, man. Man. Old Brett, the race car guy. That's pretty fun. Now you'd probably get pulled over because Hamilton and everybody has so many cops now.
I doubt they got him through there.
Really? Man, I don't know. I've been working out in Detroit, not Detroit, but Detroit. And I'm taking Henson Springs and 16 and all that. And daggum state troopers are hanging out back in that area lately. I'm like, man, we're out in the middle of nowhere.
I know.
Nowhere in Lamar County.
To think they would be out there doing their job.
I know.
And
They
you're
should be
upset about it.
They should be at home eating donuts or something, right?
You watch your whole face right now.
Isn't that what you guys do?
No.
Of course, you're not a state trooper, but
No,
close
but,
enough.
They're my brothers.
They are. They're probably a bunch of good dudes. There was a young kid out. There was a young kid out there pulling somebody over. I thought, man, that boy looks like
said
he's fresh
good
out the
dudes.
womb.
Huh?
You said good dudes.
They are good dudes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I misunderstood.
I haven't met any cops up here that are bad dudes. Met plenty down in Florida, except for my buddy. I got a good buddy down there. That's he's not a road deputy. He works in the jail now, but well, he started out in the jail and then he was off to training, and now he's back in the jail as a sergeant.
Yeah.
But I somehow become friends with cops, which is, I guess it's a beneficial thing, but people that I've always tried to avoid, I become friends with instead. So there's
Brett,
that.
Brett, how old was you when you was racing?
18.
18 years old.
Sounds about right. Back in his wild days.
Wild day. We used to race. Me and a buddy of mine had matching Camaros.
That's what I had.
Was it?
What year was your Camaro, Chris?
Mine was a 94, 96.
Okay.
97.
Okay.
But mine was just a V6. Mine was,
But
them were stout.
Yeah,
little
there you
V6
go.
cars.
They're gonna V6.
And my buddies was a V6, so it's kind of.
Okay.
And so
you're
we
back in
we would race one another all the time. And I remember one day, he was racing himself, I guess, to my house. And
see if he could beat his time.
he come flying down the back road there on 21, and goes around a curve, and he's hugging that curve, eating it. You hear me? And meets one of them silver and blue cars with a big hat.
Ooh, yeah.
Runs that off in the ditch. Runs the trooper off in the ditch.
Really?
Holy
Yes.
cow.
And he's only like, I don't know, 30 seconds from my house at that point.
Was he
man.
was he on the outside or something?
No, he was in the trooper's lane, like hugging the
he's
curve.
Yeah,
turning
he's
to the
cutting it.
left and he's on the
hugging
okay.
it. Yeah. So he comes sliding up in my yard, man. He's beating on the door. And I was thinking, man, I thought it was.
Let me in.
That's what he was doing. And I was like, that's the police fitting to kick the door in. Somebody's done something. And I go, and it's him. And he comes running in, taking his clothes off.
He's
Oh,
changing clothes.
man.
No, he's not.
Oh.
He's taking his clothes off.
Like he was sleeping or something?
So he comes in, and his shirt's off. He's taking his breeches off. And he goes back towards my room. He said, if the trooper pulls up, I've been here all night. And I said, okay.
Trooper probably had to get a tow truck and get him
Genius.
out the ditch.
I said, okay, yeah. Oh, no. Trooper's in the yard within a minute. And there's 2 green Camaros sitting in the yard.
They're both green.
Yes. One's mine. Oh. One's his.
Oh, you know he fell to that hood when he
Exactly what he did. He walked over and felt to my hood. It was cold. Walked over and felt to Michael's hood. It was warm. He come to the door and he said, I need to know who's driving that Camaro right there. And I said, oh, that's my buddy, but he's been here all night. Like an idiot. I don't know how in the world. He's been here all night. And I'm thinking, because he's in his drawers probably back there in the bed, like pretending he's asleep.
So the guy pulls up thinking he's at some gay house.
Yeah, right.
Having a sausage fest.
Oh, no.
So
He knew.
He knew exactly what was going on. So my daddy comes to the door. And Daddy he's not going to say that Michael had been there all night. And, which, understandably so now that I'm a parent. But the trooper pushes Daddy out of the way and comes in to.
Oh, I don't know how I'd like that.
He comes right on up into the dining room. And I'm like, Michael, that trooper wants you. And
You know what trooper you was talking about earlier?
Michael comes down the hall. He's wiping his eyes like he's going to
Oh my
sleep.
gosh! He's
And I'm
laying
like,
it
oh,
on thick.
he is playing this up. He's playing this up. And the trooper said, I need you in the passenger seat of that trooper car right now. Michael is in his boxer shorts. Trooper takes him out there. He is in his boxer shorts in the trooper car I'm talking about that trooper's wearing him out.
I bet.
And he wrote him like 3 or 4 tickets. And Michael come walking back in the house, still ain't got no clothes on, holding tickets. So that don't teach you something.
I'll give him an A for effort, though. He
Yeah.
went all out.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
He tried.
I'm not gonna strip down for much. He did it. He went all the way.
That's awesome. So what we need to do is invent something that can cool the engine and hood down on a vehicle so fast that if you were to do that,
I ain't
you
got
could
no
get away
use
with
for
it.
it no more.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I don't get over.
You don't want to run from the cops?
On these roads around here, I don't get over 55 hardly anymore.
Really?
Yeah,
Man.
I got all that out.
I don't know if I'll ever get driving fast out of my system. I love driving fast. I mean, I try not to.
It don't help. Yeah, I mean,
but it's fun. It's
I
fun.
guess. What if a deer runs out up in front of
Well,
him?
that
God
deer gets
forbid, What
smoked.
if a kid runs out?
Well, it's not like you got kids playing in the streets out here in the sticks.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You never know.
I don't never see
I
it.
about got run over when I was a kid one time.
Well,
on a bicycle.
See, that's the way I thought when I was a kid. I went through a phase where I didn't get under 90 miles an hour wherever I
wow.
went.
Okay.
And as a immature mind, I was thinking if I pass a cop, he can't get turned around in time. I'm gone.
Yeah.
But I never crossed my mind. What if a dog runs out in front of me? I'm in a car that sits this high off the ground. What if a deer runs out in front of me? What if, God forbid, what if a kid runs out in front of me?
I get the kid thing, but I don't think I've seen a kid in the road since I've been here. Unless you're like in town. Like we're out in the sticks.
Yeah.
Where I'm at is in the sticks. So my kids don't play. I mean, my kids have 40 acres to roam. They go in the woods. They ain't out in the daggum road. Now, once in a while we go on a walking road, but there ain't nobody back on our road anyways. I mean, I don't know.
Man, I could tell you a story.
I bet you could. You probably got a lot of them.
I do got some, but I could tell you one about a police officer that wasn't expecting a kid to be in the road.
I don't even know if I want to hear this story.
He was headed on a call. So, yeah, I don't drive like I did.
Yeah. All right. Well. Okay. I'll knock it down to 59.
Yeah.
We need to get some Bible anyway. Where do you got us going, Chris?
Where have I got us going?
Yeah, I thought this was your show.
That's your show. I'm just part of it. It's
Yeah.
your world.
So in case y'all were wondering, Adam is not here today. What is Adam doing?
I don't know.
I forgot. Didn't he tell us what he's doing?
Probably.
I don't know. I forgot. Sorry,
If
Adam.
you
We
haven't
forgot
figured
what
it
you're
out
doing.
yet, I'm not real big on the text message stuff. A lot of times I'll take the information I need, and then, sometimes I'll reply, sometimes I won't.
Yeah. Yep.
And that bothers you, don't it?
It doesn't bother me one bit. It really doesn't. Because sometimes, I have people that will respond with a huge message, and some people that just like, yep. I prefer the shorter stuff too. I mean, but whatever. So yeah, Adam's not here. He's out partying with the big dogs, doing something, I'm sure, fun without us. Oh, speaking of doing something fun without us, hey, Brett, I know Chris ain't going to have no part of it, but we finished up the Wild at Heart in our men's group last night. I took your advice. I took a couple weeks off of the men's group.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I was there and you didn't come.
You're so full of
I was
crap.
there last week.
Really?
Me and Jaden.
What was I doing last week? Man, last week was
Just preparing. for
last
your
week was crazy. Yeah, because we had. That's right. I didn't go because we had 2 more foster kids come in for respite care. I finally got a taste. I told Chris, I said, I got a taste for Grant and Jana's life. We had 10 kids in our home for a week, and thank God that's over. Thank God that's over.
That's a lot.
Now we're back down to 8. Our one of ours will probably be going home in the next couple months, I'd assume.
Yeah, so I think that's what they were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, her family is coming to church with us, and man, they're doing awesome. I'm excited for them. Sweet little baby girl, she's gonna be going home. I was looking up something. Oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to look up. So we finished up the Wild at Heart series, and Larry wants us to come out and record next Saturday, and I don't know if this is going to work for you or not, but I'm going to throw it to you anyways. We got men's breakfast at the church, and he thinks it'd be cool if we did recorded there with everybody and kind of bring people in, maybe get testimonies or talk to guys, or just kind of have like this kind of open mic platform next Saturday morning. So if it's something that we think is feasible, we can try to make that happen. If not, then we'll just do our normal recording. Adam probably might not be able to, but
Yeah, Adam probably won't be able to, and you know, I'm a day-to-day guy, so.
well, I'll call you the night
But
before.
I still won't have chicken. So as long as I'm not
Okay.
setting up or whatever, I
Okay.
don't see why I couldn't.
Yeah. So, and if anybody's listening, hold on, I'm trying to find it. Sorry. I got 10 billion text messages on my phone. I'm trying to find Pastor Russ's. He puts out a mass text. Oh, here it is. I guess we got a baptism coming up too. Man, I have to get on there. Okay, so Saturday, April 5th, we have men's breakfast at 7:30 at our church, Encounter Church in Guin. So if we can do that, that'd be kind of fun. Kind of have almost an open mic session kind of thing and record. And then Friday, April 11th. So kind of like a closeout deal for this series that we did with the Wild at Heart. The men are going to meet in Bankhead Forest, and I don't know exactly where yet, on April 11th for a camp out Friday night, camp out Saturday, or camp out Friday night to Saturday, and then if anybody can stay, I think he's even going to do Saturday night and then get up early Sunday morning to get back into town to go to church. So that's April 11th. He's got it here to meet at 6 o'clock. He says, or whenever you get there from work. So I think Larry's actually planning on taking the day off Friday, reserve some spots there. And I said, man, if I got a bathroom remodel that week. So if I can get to a point where I can stop or finish it before Friday, I might try to get out there Friday too and just spend the day out there in the woods and see what we can do. So that's going to be pretty exciting. So camp out in Bankhead National Forest, and I'll have to get the exact location from him, and I can maybe update that on our Facebook page. If you guys ain't following our Facebook and Instagram, I'd appreciate it if you just take half a second of your life and just follow the Forging Podcast on Facebook. And we don't put a ton out on Instagram. Instagram's kind of an aggravating app, so I don't. Adam, we have like that business Facebook thing, so it automatically uploads from to Facebook and to Instagram. So when Adam puts stuff out, it goes to both. I don't always put our podcast out on Instagram because it doesn't catch a whole lot of traction out there anyways. But at least follow our Facebook page, and if we have anything going on, we're going to post it on there. So if you could take a second and do that, we would greatly appreciate that. Other than that, we got Chris here wanting to talk about throwing bricks in people's faces, right? Oh no, it's rocks, digging the boulders out of people's eyes.
Oh, I want to talk about my rock.
Oh, you want to talk about your rock? That's right.
Look, I've done got this in my mind. You drive by people's house and you see they'll have the big rock at the end of the driveway, like with an address or their last
I'd like
name.
to have one of those.
Man, I've been wanting one, and so I went to a buddy of mine's house, and he lives in the old strip pit coal mines over in Brilliant, and he's got rocks everywhere. He was like, man, you get all the rocks you want, come here and get them. Went last night to try to get one that he had picked out for me, and it's nice, perfect. Sets up like a little triangle.
Yeah.
He never touched it before I got there with his tractor, and we got the tractor over there, and as soon as he budged it down, it kind of slid down the hill, and like 500 more pounds of rock come out from underneath the dirt. And he's got a little John Deere tractor, and he got up under it. He couldn't get it to budge. We wound up strapping it to the bucket or the loader, and I got up there trying to pick it up. Man, that that loader got up on there and it was that's all it was. It wouldn't go nowhere. Wouldn't even budge it. And so we got to go back today, and I'm getting that rock.
You have to bring your tractor out there. Maybe you can dual lift.
Look, no,
What are you going to haul it back on?
a trailer.
You got your trailer? I saw you had your trailer up for sale.
I sold it. I got it. I got.
What'd
my
you do? Get
brother-in-law's
another
got
one? Man, why would you sell your trailer? That don't even make no sense.
My brother-in-law's got one. If he's got one, I got one.
Okay.
Huh?
I get
Yeah.
it. I get
That's
it.
how that goes.
Who's that, Grant?
No, my older sister's husband, Tim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got a big trailer, so he's gonna bring his trailer and his tractor's at the house, a 50 horse. So we're gonna take that 50
there you
horse
go.
over there and get my rock today. And if that don't work, I am getting a tow truck to go over and get. I'm getting that rock one way or the other. And
you
then
have
I've got a
big rock
buddy in
there.
Hamilton that will sandblast your name on it or whatever you want. So, I'm getting that rock.
That sounds fun. I've always wanted the telephone poles or light poles arched over the driveway
Yeah.
with like Miller Farms or I don't know, Chaos Farms maybe.
Yeah.
Crazy Town. I might have to do that.
That would
Crazy
be
Town
cool.
because it is chaotic
That would
at
be
our
cool.
place. I
My
always
wife-
like that.
My wife thinks I'm an idiot.
Well,
She said, "Why are you so worried about getting a rock?" I done counted to 3. We are gonna have a rock at the end of the driveway.
that sounds
Yeah.
exciting.
May get some crosses engraved on it or
Yeah,
something.
that'd be cool. Do a cool Bible verse in it.
Mm-hmm.
What you trying to do, Brett?
It's raining.
What does that mean?
My boots are out there.
Oh, you want me to get them? I'll get your boots.
Put them under this lean-to.
All right. Well, you guys got to keep talking because we record.
All right. We can get you a rock.
I'd like to have one.
He's got a pile
Is
of
it
them over
flat
there.
faced?
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's not, my buddy that does the engraving, man, he can shape them, do all kind of
Can he?
different things. Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome.
Break my neck coming in the door.
Don't hurt yourself.
Ain't got time for that. I got to go blow insulation after this, so I need
Oh, Lord.
to be. Yeah.
Is
Got to
that
get
like
my.
fiberglass stuff?
Yeah, I got to get my houses done out in Winfield. I got them 2 houses that. Well, one house I don't even think I'm gonna work on, but the one we're trying to get it finished up eventually so that we
Yeah.
can sell it. And daggone, I just ain't got time for nothing. So my dad pushed me enough to where I'm gonna take this afternoon and go do that instead of other work. But yeah, so Chris, you wanting to talk about the specking your eye and the logging your eye and that
Well, what I had in mind was the world's changed, and the way people view friendship and brotherhood seems to have changed. There was a time when if you was a friend to somebody, man, you built them up.
yeah.
You built them up, and you loved on them, and you all the things. But now it's like everybody's trying to climb some ladder or whatever, and just tearing people down. And it'll be a friend, and they just tear them down. So the verse that had came to my mind was, let me look here. Therefore, this is 1 Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing. Or Philippians 2 verses 3 and 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. Each of you to look not only to your own interest, but also the interest of others. I mean, Scripture tells us that we are to build one another up, you know. I've in my job, I've always, well, I'm not always, but you know,
Recent years.
recent years, have tried to instill that into other guys in law enforcement. You know, I I know I talk about a buddy of mine that passed away not long ago, pretty often, but I think he's the one that really opened my eyes to building up your circle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Robbie would always say stuff like, "Man, Chris, people like you. Everywhere you go, they want to talk to you." He said, "I have to wait in the car. Everybody wanting to talk to you. They like you. You ought to run for sheriff." And I'm like, "Man, I ain't running for sheriff."
That'd be good.
No.
Come on now.
Lord, no. Mm-mm. But he would say, "You should be a preacher," and he actually said on a Thursday before he passed away, he said, I want Chris to preach my funeral."
Wow.
Just the Thursday before he passed away. And I said, "Well, you're out of luck on that, because I'm not a preacher." And that ain't happening.
Was he sick or something? Did he know this was unexpected?
He had told me, he said, "Man, my stomach's hurting, you know, I don't feel good." He said, "Man, I don't know how long I'm going to be here." And this is like the week before he passed away. He said, "I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here." And I was like, "Whatever. You're fine. Baby got a little gas or something. You know, that's nothing, no big deal." And he had a doctor's appointment scheduled, and he didn't make it for his heart.
Really?
To see if that was a problem. But that Thursday, we did our last interview, and I've got it on video together. And then he comes to the office, and he made the comment about he just wanted me to preach his funeral. And then when I said no, he looked at one of the other deputies, Danny Purcell, was sitting there, and he said, "Danny, you make sure that Chris talks at my funeral." And we just all kind of laughed it off. And then he had a heart attack the following Tuesday.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah. But he was constantly building me up as a friend, as a brother.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that just kind of changed the whole way I look at friendship. At you know, being a brother to somebody. Because we always cracking jokes, you know, and just razzing on one another or whatever. But when you have somebody that will tell you, you know, "Hey, you're pretty awesome. You're good at this, or you're good at that," it goes a long way.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. And my whole opinion towards Robbie, that all that he did changed my outlook on friendship. So what do you think about that, Grant?
I think that is something that we should all do as men. I think some of us are going to be more gifted at that than others, like Barnabas, you know. But I think that is, you know, there's no, you know, ripping on each other, and you know that's all just fun and games and everything.
Yeah.
But there's when you do that, and you just, you know, making fun of each other and stuff, and all that's fun and funny. But then when a serious something comes across and said, hey, I think you're really gifted at this, that means a lot to
It
people.
does.
Whether they want to admit that or not, it really means a lot to people, and that's a big deal. And I remember a few years ago I had read a book that focused on that, and I had actually thought about this not too long ago. Is I had kind of forgot about that. That's kind of one of my things that I can do to help other people grow, is to really encourage. Don't focus on the negative so much. Focus on, especially a young believer. Focus on what they're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, he's always building people up. I mean, since I've known you, you're always trying to build up and encourage. And
In fact, there was a kid that used to work for me, and just a great kid. And that I bought him that book that I had read, and I wrote in the back of it. And I don't remember everything I said, but I know one part I said is always build people up, never tear down.
Mm.
yeah.
Yep. That's the ticket.
Yeah, and I've that kind of got pushed towards the back over the years, and I need to take my own advice there.
Yeah. Well, hey, I think we all fall in that.
Yeah.
Fall in that.
Naturally, or I tend towards the critical,
Yeah.
and I have to work against that. Yeah, this is going to be good for me to have this talk.
Yeah.
Well, that's I feel like that's one of my strong points.
Mm-hmm.
I've got plenty of weak points, but one of my strong points is building people up. And it's like Jared, I've always told you what I think about you. You're an awesome guy. And Brett, I don't know if I've ever told you, you're a pretty awesome guy.
I appreciate it.
But what y'all are doing with this podcast, man, it's touching people's lives.
I hope so.
So, I want to build you up right now. I'm going to build you up. You ready?
We're
Y'all ready?
Ready as we'll never be.
Y'all keep doing this, man. Y'all keep doing this podcast because it is on time. The things that y'all are talking about and sharing with the world, it's right on time.
Thank you. Sometimes we wonder. Sometimes we wonder if what we're doing even matters to people. But then, you have experience like
That actually meant a lot
Yeah.
to me, to get some feedback from somebody who I don't necessarily already know, and
Yeah.
and that's why I'm. Y'all have probably noticed, if anybody's listening, that I encourage people to give us feedback,
yeah.
because that helps.
Yeah, and
helps
it's
me.
not to build our ego. It's just to let
Yeah.
us know that like what we're doing is making an
Yeah,
impact.
because there are
sometimes you
times,
wonder.
when you're so covered up and this and that, you wonder, am I, should I really be doing this, or
Yeah.
should I be putting that effort somewhere else?
Yeah, could I be devoting the time that I spend to my family? Mm-hmm. Because, yeah, I mean, me and you, Brett, have had conversations of, and I know a few weeks back we've had a conversation of like how we manage our time wisely, and I'm been trying to understand, because listening to you and listening to Adam and how you prioritize your time, it's like I'm trying to wrap my head around it and understand it, because I know I need to do better with that, and it's just hard to it's hard to prioritize properly. And it sounds weird to say that, but I've always just been like, go, 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 go. And a lot of times my family has suffered the consequences. And so doing this requires time away from them. You know, I work 6 days a week, and this fits into that 6 days of work, and that's time that I could be spending with my family. And there's times when my wife's like, you know, I feel like I ain't seen you all week. I'm sorry, babe, I'm working, you know. And so, you know, knowing that it's affecting people's lives positively or whatever, and people are enjoying it, it does help make us understand that, you know, we're not wasting our time and just being foolish sitting here when we could be utilizing our time properly somewhere else. So, and I mean, I really believe God put this calling on my heart, and I think He's led you to have the same feeling as well, Brett. And so if God's in it, it's got to be good to some extent. And now us as humans, we can get in the way and mess up God's plan. So our prayer is always that, you know, He's at the focal point, whether we get goofy or get off track, whatever. He's always ends up being at the center of what this is all about.
Well, that's who we're trying to point to.
Yeah, it is. That is really the goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
Well, I can put it to bed.
you can put
I know y'all think about it. Y'all think about it and wonder if what you're doing is good, if you're doing the right thing. I listen every week, and I love it. I love the camaraderie that y'all share, the laughter, you know, and it always loops back around to God's word and points back to Christ.
Yeah.
And man, how can you go wrong?
Well,
How
can't
can you
until
go
we
wrong if you
until we
point
allow
to
ourselves to
Christ,
get in
you
the
know?
way. So yeah. But yeah, I like this topic of building each other up, because I mean, I guess you don't think about it really until somebody brings it up and really makes it known that, like you said, you know, back in the day, it was, you did everything to help each other and build each other up and do whatever you could to be there for your brother. And now it's every man for itself in a lot of ways. And I'm trying to get to the top, and whether you decide to make it there or not, that's on you. Instead of, I'm trying to make it to the top, and I'm going to bring you with me kind of attitude. And, you know, life does get busy and kind of get in the way of a lot of things. And, but it's so important for us to have brothers to support us, to be there for us. You know, it's nice your wife supports you, encourages you, et cetera, et cetera. That's great. But, you know, as men, it's like we need other men to say, hey, you know, you're doing good. Hey, you're not doing good. It could be even holding us accountable in a negative way. And I'm here to help. I'll be with you through this. Man, you're doing a great job. I see what you're doing. It's awesome. Just like your encouragement for us today. Like, that's awesome. It kind of reminds us and solidifies that, once again, what we're doing is worth value. And, man, I'm sure there's been many times where people are like, oh, what about this guy? And it's, instead of building them up, it's like, well, you know, I don't know. I can't think of a specific topic, but yeah, it's, instead of saying, man, this is a great guy, he's a great friend, he's been there through thick and thin with me, et cetera, it's, oh, well, yeah, he's doing this right now, and blah, 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 and maybe pulling out some negative connotation while in some weird roundabout way throwing some encouraging things in there, but you got to throw the negative connotations in there too, instead of just saying, man, he's a good friend of mine.
I think whenever you're on the negative side being critical, if you can always communicate that you're pulling for them, you know, even you're not against them.
Yeah.
You know, like I've got some people in my life right now that is just, you know, in a bad way, and it's of their own doings. And of course, they see it as it's everybody else's fault and this and that. But you know I hadn't just come down on them, you know, but I wonder sometimes if that's what's needed.
A little tough love.
Yeah, but every time I think about it, I'm thinking, nah, that ain't gonna go nowhere.
Yeah.
And but anyway, whenever the time comes for you to give somebody a negative, you know, what's the right word? Constructive
Construction.
criticism.
Yeah.
It helps a whole lot if you got a pretty strong relationship with them and they know
Well,
that they
yeah.
can trust what you're saying
Sure.
and your motives behind it. But you're always pulling for them. You're not trying to tear them down, especially to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you tend to see in the world. But yeah, encouragement is huge, and we as men, a lot of times, we don't even like to admit that. I don't think that really meant a lot to me that another guy told.
Yeah.
You know.
Honestly, there's times when it feels uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, man, it's like you do appreciate what they're saying, but it's like, can we change the topic? And I don't know why. I do get that way sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't. It's so weird. Like, I appreciate the positive, but it's like, okay, but you, man, you're doing good, and it's easier to kind of push it off. Why is that? I don't understand what that is. It just gets kind of uncomfortable. Like, oh man, you do so good at this or whatever, and you're like, man, I appreciate that. So the sky today is blue and beautiful and clear, and I don't know. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, it does make you feel good. And it's like, man, okay, what I'm doing is not just a waste. It's of value. And because they're noticing, sometimes, I've even allowed that to encourage me to try to do even better. Just to try to, man, he said I did a good job on, say on a job. Man, I did a really good job on that job. But I know that there's things in my mind that I could have probably tweaked to make it just that much more. So now it's like, man, he noticed how great this looks, but man, if I'd have just done this little extra, how much better could it have been? And it's not to shine light on me. It's just for me, and I always try to teach my kids, everything you do it to the best of your ability and to honor God. Mm-hmm. And so am I always honoring God in everything that I'm doing, including my work? So if that's the case, I need to always try to do as the best I can and better. And so, I don't know, I guess I utilize some of that encouragement sometimes to say, all right, I'm going to try to one-up myself next time and just do better and better and better. And I don't know.
We always should try to be better today than we were yesterday.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think, when I'm at work, all the people that I have talked to and prayed with, and I always lead with, I'm no better than you at all, because they're like, that's one of the ways we look at somebody when they're giving us, constructive criticism, is, oh, he thinks he's better than me.
Yeah.
And that's why I'll lead that conversation with, you need to understand something. Look here, I have my own problems.
Yep.
I have sin in my life just like you have sin in your life. Now, it may not look the same, but I've got the demons that I have to fight. You have the demons that you have to fight. And here's what I see in you, or here's what, you could do better. Because you're right, that constructive criticism, that does have to come sometimes, because, Jesus flipped that table over.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to let people know constructively in love, here's what I'm seeing.
I think more often than not, though, that is not the most productive way to go. Like, and this is you're gonna have to use some discernment on whoever you're talking about, where their heart is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, the ones Jesus came down hard on, they were full of pride, self-righteous, You know, the ones that are saying, "Oh, you know, I'm addicted to drugs. I'm addicted to porn or whatever. I'm not good enough to you know either come to church or come to Jesus or whatever it may be." You know, that's the time to encourage and build up and tell them, you know, yeah, I mean, yeah, we're all stained by sin.
Yes.
And the irony of the whole thing is, even though people, men, we look at some sins, and of course the consequences are greater for different things in the world, but you know, like we look at porn or drug addiction as being a greater sin than gossiping or you know, little lies or whatever it may be. We tend to rate those as men, where in God's eyes sin is sin, and the price for sin is death, no matter what the sin is.
Right. Right.
And so, you know, you have to build those people up who are beating themselves up anyway, saying they're not good enough or whatever. And then on the other side, you may have to bring, and this may come into play for me at some point. Somebody say, "Hey, you know, you ain't no better than a drug addict laying and, you know, walking the alleys right now." And that's very true. And we have to I think we have to use some discernment on when we do that. But 90% of the time, I'd say always build up.
Right. Right. And you know, from experience, that 90% is there. That 10% of flipping the table,
Yeah.
that's left for those who have been told over, and it's not sinking in. It's not
Yeah.
sinking in. And then even after that table's flipped over, you bring it back down to, you know, let me build you up.
Yeah.
You know, if you tear
That's right.
somebody
After
down,
you give them that, yes.
you give them correction. You always follow that up with love. Some love. You know, it was such a blessing this week. I got to talk to a lady that I've dealt with several times, and I've always, every time I've dealt with her, could see more. That she was, and I talked to her over and over about self-worth, and you know, don't sell yourself short. God's got great things for you. And when I tell y'all she's got a hold of some Jesus, Lord have mercy. The last time I arrested her, she ended up going to a facility and stayed there for a long time. And she got a hold of some Jesus there and brought it back out with her. And we talked for 45 minutes on the phone the other day.
Wow.
About how good God is and what God's doing in her life and what God's doing in the community around her. And, you know, that blessed my heart to see that, like you said, to see things where somebody says, hey, what you did mattered.
Yeah.
What you said mattered.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though I thought that you were, you know, just arrested me, or you were just, you know, talking to me on a call or whatever, I see now what you were really saying.
Yeah.
Man, it blessed my heart.
Man, that's
Because
awesome.
we don't have, you know, there's not just a whole lot of success stories.
I know.
And when you get some, it's huge. It's huge. It lights that fire back, you know.
Yeah, I mean, doing what you do, that's got to get kind of wear on you, and you are a person that truly is trying to help these people, get them out of that situation, encourage them. I mean, I know we've talked about different opportunities you've had to spread the word of God to these people as you're dealing with them, and I'm sure that there's got to be times when you feel like it's just a waste. Like, why do I even bother talking to half these people? They're
Right.
drugged up or whatever the problem is. But then you
They're
you
not
get
listening.
that, yeah. Then you get that success story that's like, man, that one. I mean, that's, you know what, that one person is just as important to God as if you had 10,000 people.
That's it.
So that's so awesome to know that all the effort you put into it is not wasted.
Yep. And you know, I told her when we were talking, it's not just her, you know, her circle or that community. It's everywhere. It is palpable, the movement of God in the world right now. Things that are changing, and where you see God moving on people's life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like something that I've never experienced before. You know, to see people coming to the Lord. You know, it's almost like time's running out.
Yeah, I've wondered the same thing.
And it's a curtain call kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, y'all come on if you're coming. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody or, you know, whatever. Well, I kind of.
It should light a fire under some people's hiney.
Yeah, if it scares you, it scares you, or whatever works. But, you know, it's almost like that final curtain call. If you're coming, come on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are coming. You see these colleges that are having like
Revivals.
a whole revival come to Jesus.
Bible sales are through the roof.
Yes.
You hear about stuff in the Middle East where they don't have the Bible, where it's illegal. You hear about people having dreams, and then they run into a missionary and they tell them the gospel, and they're like, "This is the guy I've been dreaming about." You know, have y'all heard them stories?
No.
That is wild stuff, boy. I don't know the details of it, but supposedly they had these dreams of, and it all goes back to Scripture. It's like Jesus is calling them. He's seeing them they're seeing him in their dreams. And, you know, and then they'll run up on a missionary or whatever, and it clicks that's who they're dreaming. That's who they're seeing. And stuff like that. I'm the same way. And you see a movement kind of boiling up under the surface of all this nonsense that is taking place. But the ones they don't talk about, what's happening under the surface, they don't really talk about on the news. You know.
Yep.
I've been wondering the same thing. I've been saying for a while that I think we're on the edge of something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a great awakening and time's going to go on for another 2,000 years. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
Or I've thought like you're thinking, is this the last call? You know?
Man, it could be. I've been listening to the John Bevere podcast, and he's been talking about end times and stuff, and man, it's pretty cool. If you ever get time to listen to another podcast, it's John Bevere and his son doing it, and I'm trying to see how. I mean, he's got several episodes on end time stuff, and it's super interesting, and I think you guys would enjoy it. But he's insinuating that
End times is always interesting,
it
but
is.
I'm careful about who I talk to about it because I don't want them to get their mind wrapped around.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
where they're focusing on what happens in Revelation and all
Yeah.
this stuff. I don't want them to really focus on that. I want them to deal first with who is Jesus. You know, you gotta. Who do you say he is? You got to deal with that first, and then after that, you know, after you give your life to Jesus, then we can talk about end times and.
But you know what?
know.
Sometimes that hellfire brimstone gets people a little fired up to move. You know what I mean? I'm not a hellfire brimstone person, but when you understand that there's consequences coming, sometimes it encourages you to say, okay, let's get on this bandwagon in a sense.
Yeah.
And then so I get what you're saying, and I agree, but at the same time, sometimes people need a little bit of fire lit under their hide.
I think I've said this on here before, but part of the reason that I think that I view that's the direction I go with it is because when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily care, or my focus was not on being with Jesus. My focus was staying out of hell.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was focusing
Yeah.
on. 'Cause I know I don't want to go there. You know?
Well, and my point is, I'm not like I said, I'm not a hellfire brimstone person, but sometimes that encourages people to take that leap. Sometimes people need that fear kicked into them to say, "Man, I really need to entertain this," and then it needs to be nurtured, watered. You know, that seed was planted. Now it needs to be watered and nurtured into who Jesus is and the love of Him, and you know, and all that. So there is a healthy balance to it. I'm just saying, I didn't necessarily need the hellfire brimstone to get me going. Of course, I was saved at a young age.
But you know, I was too. I was saved at a young age, but then your focus is on hell, and you know, a lot of focus was on your behavior, and you know, a teenage mind. You know where it goes. 99% of the time it stays. And
according to that preaching, you'd be in hell all the time.
That was what I rationed. You know, I was like, I ain't got a chance.
I've never really had that kind of preaching in my life.
Absolutely biblical. By my own worth, I ain't got a chance.
Yeah.
That's it, yep.
But when you
Thank you, Jesus.
yeah, that's right. Whenever you realize that, I don't have a chance. That's why He had to do what He did. He had to take the punishment for me because I could never do anything to be able to do it myself. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And once you put your faith in Him, and then you're not worried about hell so much, you're worried about, I just want to walk closer
to Him.
Closer to Him, and then you're growing, and, these deeper truths start to come out, and it's really fun. It's that was another thing, is that looking at the church from the outside, you may think, well, I can't have any fun. I can't do whatever.
A lot of churches have made it that way.
But then once you really get in 100%, you find the truth behind Jesus brings. He has come to bring life, and life to the full.
Man, that's awesome. That was finishing up on the Wild at Heart series. That's what it's talking about. Is the adventure that comes with the relationship with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the verses Larry even said was that He brings life more abundantly, or more to the fullest, and meaning that you don't have to be stuck in this mundane, just follow all the rules and the regulations of the church, and you're just this lame, boring guy. Like, God's calling us to be way more.
Exactly.
Way more.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And have a life that's lived to its fullest.
Yep. And that life lived to the full, when other people can see that and see that fire, that's attractive.
It is. Yeah.
And then you encourage, they come up and they telling you, this is awesome, whatever, you're this, you're that. You say, oh, really, there's nothing that special about me. And then you turn it to encourage them.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
And then you drop the truth bomb on them. Let me tell you the difference that Jesus did for me, And you don't have to go through this method of all this. Just tell them what Jesus did for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why, too, with all this that we're doing, I'd really like to build excitement back in people's lives, not just help forge them into being better husbands. Our intro tells you all that, but like have adventure, do some risk taking, do some. I told Larry, so we're talking about getting some Sipsey River runs in this summer. So the Bankhead National Forest camp out is going to be kind of like a kickoff, I think. I hope, and I'd like to do some video content if we can, and just show. I mean, we're Christian men. He plans on doing some devotional stuff through it, but we're going to have adventure. We're going to have fun. It's not lame, mundane stuff. Like it's exciting to live for Christ.
Yep.
It's exciting to have Him fill us up with joy and love and adventure and passion, and we can get out there and we can worship Him. We can celebrate Him, and have fun doing it. Hiking through the trails of Bankhead Forest, cruising down the river of Sipsey, whatever. I mean, this is exciting, and we can be. I don't know how many times I get down these rivers, and I'm like, man, Lord, what you do is so amazing. It's just so beautiful, and it's just like worship.
I'm the same way.
It is because it's so beautiful.
It's hard not to worship.
Yeah.
When your life has been changed and you can see His fingerprints in creation.
Mm-hmm. That's you ever rode a Harley?
No, never been on.
You have.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
Same thing. Cruising down the road and you look around, you look at the sunsets. Or
Yeah.
You look at the the sky, trees. You look at creation and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
It always seems more pretty too on the back of a Harley.
Why are you on the back? I'm driving it.
Well, whatever. Riding
you
on a
riding
Harley.
with?
Well, I'll ride with you anytime,
Oh,
Big Daddy.
you guy.
One of these days I'll have me a motorcycle. Possibly in June. I'll be bringing a motorcycle back home, so we can do some riding.
Nice. I can't wait.
Yeah, me neither. Trust me, me neither. I was actually hoping to go down and get it for my birthday, but that done went and passed, and I still ain't got it. But when we go down and visit in June, I'll be bringing her home. But yeah, I mean, up here, I can't wait to get on the roads on a bike up here. This is.
Oh, man.
We used to ride. We'd go out to Anna Maria Island, Longboat Key, Siesta Key, Lido. We'd cruise all those roads and see the beach. And I'm trying to think if we ever actually hit a sunset. We probably did at some point. I mean,
Yeah.
living out by the water, you do. And that was pretty.
Yeah.
But man, there's just something about cruising these highways here through the hills, and it's just
Through the forest.
yeah.
Through Natchez Trace.
I've been through.
Natchez Trace, that's what I was going to say. Natchez
Yeah.
Trace in the fall.
Oh man.
It's nice.
Well, see, so we got some riding adventures ahead of us, Chris.
It's nice.
Maybe we can convince Brett to get a bike.
I've got a bike.
You got a motorcycle? Oh yeah. You just don't ride it. Does it work?
Well, yeah, it's being worked on right now.
Okay, so you might get into some riding.
Well, yeah, but I'm gonna be vintage, old school.
Riding
fun.
is riding. It don't matter if you're vintage, crotch
You got
rocket,
55.
Harley,
Yeah,
whatever.
it should.
If it goes 55, that's all I care to just cruise.
Yeah,
Man.
Get out and cruise around and soak up God's creation. It's awesome to me.
Yeah.
I went yesterday and got some new accoutrements for mine.
He's
Yeah.
got such a nice motorcycle.
I got some of those. They're called tip over bag guard things.
Yeah.
It's the ones that looks like it's got skateboard wheels on them. You seen those?
No.
Oh, dude.
Well, you afraid you're gonna dump that thing over?
You never know.
That is true. With all the gravel on these roads, you never know.
You never
and
know.
that is such a pretty bike.
And I don't want to scratch on it.
No,
At least so what it does is these stick out just far enough that if
Keep
it
it off
does
the-
rot, it catches it.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps it off the bags. But I went and got those yesterday. I got to put them on at some point. Hopefully today.
There you go. Yeah. I keep seeing motorcycle ads, and of course I go on Marketplace once in a while looking at motorcycles. And, it makes me want them
My
badly.
nephew Bailey Grant's boy, He's talking about getting one. I sent him like, I don't know, a dozen pictures yesterday while I was at the Hardy place of different bikes. You know, I was like, hey, you can get this one. This is a good learner bike, you know, whatever.
I want a street glide so bad. That's my bike. I want one so bad. So bad.
Well,
And I'd like to go a little bit older and get a Deuce too. Those are one of my. I love that style of bike and a street glide. If I had those two, I would be wanting another one. Just like guns, you know, you can never have enough.
Right. We get done talking. I'll show you some of the pictures
Yeah.
from yesterday, man. They got some nice.
They got nice price tags on them too. That's what makes it hard. It's like, man,
They
I want
do.
that, but I don't want that payment.
But what's weird is you go and you'll be like, I don't want that payment, and they're like, here's a payment book that you can set your coffee cup on like an end table. It's thick, and you leave with one.
It's like they put you in a trance.
They do.
And
I think it is.
They convince you no matter what.
Yeah,
I ain't got a dime to my name, but I'm leaving with this Harley.
Yeah. Go thinking I've got a nice bike. I don't need another bike. Whatever. And boy, look at that new color they got. Man, that thing sounds good.
Yours is like the Stormtrooper style, white and black.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Well, mine, I wanted something more classy looking, and I use, and this, hey, we're gonna go back to some Jesus. Y'all get ready. The sticker on the back, the little decal I've got on my rear fender, says forgiven. My tag is personalized, and it's be forgiven. So that goes back to using everything, even riding a motorcycle, to bring glory to God. Because that's just like these tattoos bring up an open conversation. So does that riding a motorcycle. People will see that tag and like, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you're sharing the gospel, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
At a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Getting gas. But
I think we talked about this last time you were on here, but I thought about getting a tattoo just for that reason.
Yeah.
Just so somebody say, "What's that tattoo about?" But I can't think of a good enough idea to get one.
Yeah. I want some more tattoos.
Plus, I'm getting past the tattoo age.
I don't know that you ever get past that.
That's like getting past the I've got enough guns phase. There's just, is it possible?
Yeah.
One of these days I'll get some more. I got to prioritize my money other places. But one day I'd like to get our podcast logo somewhere tattooed on. But I'd like to have at least one sleeve.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
Did I describe this tattoo when I was here last time?
I think you did the first time I met you, but go ahead.
So you have to explain it because people are listening, not seeing.
Oh, they can't see it.
Yeah, they can't see it.
Yeah.
So you have to explain it, and then you can explain what it is, and then explain the meaning behind it.
So on my right forearm, there's a line's face. And the lion is wearing a crown of thorns. In the right eye, there's a tear. And in the left eye, there's a cross. And the lion represents Jesus. And he's upset, weeping, which is the tear, for the shape that we've let the world get into. That we would look back to the cross that's in the left eye. Underneath the line is a hourglass, has a clock face in it that's running down into the bottom of the hourglass. He wants us to look back to the cross because we're running out of time. Time's going down in the bottom of the hourglass. That tattoo, I don't know how many times people have said, "Oh, I like your lion tattoo. What is that?" And I get to share that little story with them, and it opens up that conversation. Or I've got below it, I am second. which is a movement that has been going around for a long time. I'm second because I put God first.
Mm.
And people will say, who's first? If you're second, who's first? You know, thinking I'd say my wife or something. And she's, you know, she's before me.
Yeah.
But God's first.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to share that.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
tattoos ain't always bad.
Have you seen the Chronicles of Narnia?
I spent a long time. But
Oh
I think
man, that's so good. We
Really?
watch it. We watch it. You know, probably I don't know, once every few months we'll go through.
Really?
Yes. It is.
that's the one that's got the line in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
don't know if I've seen any of that.
If you're not a student of the Bible, you'll probably never catch it. But the first one, the line, the witch and the wardrobe, it's basically the gospel. Is what it is. You know, that's what the story is. And I was telling Courtney, I was, and the kids, they're all the time, why you like this so much? And I said, it's the gospel. You know, the lion represents Jesus. He goes and sacrifices himself to get Edmund out of the curse of the witch. And then he comes back to life and fights the battle and kills the witch. Awesome. If you haven't seen those, you need to get into them. If you don't read, watch the movies. The movies they're good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure my wife knows about that stuff. I don't know.
Well,
They say that Lord of the Rings has somehow got that in it too, and I
It's
can't get behind
it's
that
got
either.
some, but it's not like Narnia.
I don't know. Some of that stuff's kind of weird to me, but
I don't think
I might have to
I've seen
check it out sometime just to. Of course, Autumn should be like, "Oh, see, your buddy tells you this is what you should do, so you do it. When I say it, you poo-poo and whatever." I'm
Your
like, "Well,
buddy.
yeah,
Your buddy tells
because
you
you
to
like
drink
weird
coffee.
stuff."
She got mad about you drinking coffee with me too.
Yeah.
Your buddy told you to drink coffee and you did it.
Look, that was survival at that point.
No, we was trying to warm up.
I think the world knows by now that I'm not a coffee drinker. But Chris invited me to come out hunting with him. That was last year. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we chose the coldest day possible.
Ever in the history of cold days. It was the coldest day.
Was that last year?
Yes, it was so cold.
Did y'all
Yeah,
go
it
in the
was-
morning?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Zero degree. It was 0 degrees here.
Negative zero. Is it a negative zero? Like goes all the way down the scale. It was so cold, man.
We
It
were
hurt.
numb. Yeah, it just... And I didn't want to be the guy to say, I can't do it anymore.
Neither of us did.
And finally it...
But both of you was thinking it.
Oh,
Yeah.
for probably at least a good couple hours.
Yeah.
Or at least an
Yeah.
hour. I don't even remember how long we sat in that blind. But,
We was freezing to
man,
death.
we were...
And
man,
both
it
trying
was
to be
so-
tougher than the other.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
And finally we broke. And it's...
I think I broke first. And I was like, well, if you're ready to go.
And I'm like...
Not saying I can or nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but deep down inside, I'm like, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus, he gave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we went inside, and, I mean, it took probably an hour to get back to not freezing to death. And so he made up some coffee. He's like, you want coffee? I'm like, man, I don't drink coffee. I said, but you know what? I'll give it a shot. He's like, oh, man, this is good. I put creamer, blah, blah, blah. It's good. I had 2 cups.
Uh-huh.
I had 2 cups of coffee.
Just to get warm again. I don't think it had nothing to do with the taste of the coffee. He wanted something warm.
I needed something warm bad. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but at that point, is it actually coffee when you put as much creamer and
Yes.
flavor in it?
Yes.
Is
It's
it?
still coffee.
Well, there's coffee in it, but
You
it's
guy.
more. It's more creamer. I think it's more creamer than coffee.
You can still be a man and drink creamer in your coffee.
Yeah, I
Hey,
guess.
I want to go back to what you was talking about on your tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this in man church, but before Jesus raised Lazarus, he wept, right? And I had read somewhere that another possible translation is he burst into tears. Why do you think he was weeping?
I ain't got a clue.
I just threw that on y'all, but
I would have to read in that area again to even remember the total story about it. To have
Maybe
he's about to raise him from the dead. He knows he's about to raise him from the dead, but he still burst into tears. And I paint the picture for you. Everybody's gathered around him. He brings everybody to the tomb of Lazarus where he's laid. Everybody's around him. Why? Why is he weeping?
for their pain.
Yeah, that's
Is it?
so. That was me and another brother in church. That's what he said. He said for what they're going through, and I'm not disagreeing at all. But and I think I read this in a book somewhere a long time ago, so I can't take credit for it. But I'm thinking in his mind, he's thinking it didn't have to be this way. Sin didn't have to affect creation this way. This is not what we wanted. And now we have to go through death. We have to go through these horrible things, living in a cursed world. I can't help but wonder if that's what he's weeping about.
Yeah.
Because death ain't a problem for Jesus,
Yeah.
He's fixing to raise Lazarus up. I just can't get on board with he's weeping because Lazarus died.
Well, especially knowing that he's going to be able to.
Yeah, he's fixing to raise him up.
Or what if it's something like there's a lot of people that didn't get healed or didn't get brought back, but he's doing it for him, and maybe it's like, why is the Father saying to raise him back up? Because it's almost like he didn't have permission in a sense to heal others and raise others, right? Maybe I'm misspeaking, but I mean,
in there that the son, I'm not going to get it word for word, but he only does what the Father tells him to do.
Yeah. So it's like the Father's
this and that, but death for us here, it's our reality, so it's a big deal, right? But from God's perspective, after we go through this temporary discomfort of death, if you're a believer, you're with Him forever. So really, death is not that big a deal,
it shouldn't be.
Yeah. So that's why I think, and you had said that when you was talking about the tattoo. Mm-hmm. You said it's weeping for the shape we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what brought that thought on.
Huh.
That's good. I got something else I can put that in the
conversation.
I can share that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, instead of getting tattoos that are pointless, get something that has meaning, that could give you a reason to help lead somebody to Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because there's a lot of debate on whether you should even have a tattoo as a Christian.
Right.
It's like,
I think that's I think that's getting pretty old school.
Yeah. Well, and because the Bible talks about tattooing yourself, but it was for those. I think it was for those who died or something like that. Like it was people were tattooing themselves because people were dying and something to that extent. It's like, well, that.
Where's that at?
Don't mark
I don't
yourself
remember.
For the
I think
dead
it's
or something.
Old Testament or something.
Yeah, I've been told that too.
I ain't come across that one yet.
Well, you ain't got tattoos all the way down your arm.
You ain't heard it yet.
You'll have the naysayers that walk up and they're like, "Hey, don't you know Scripture says?"
But you're not marking yourself for the dead.
I'm trying to spread the gospel, just like the decal on my bike. I'm trying to spread the gospel through tattoos and any way I can.
And your line tattoos are way down on your arm, right out front and center, where people can't help but see it.
Yeah.
So it's like a focal point to maybe. It's like it's done to raise attention to.
What if you're wearing long sleeves though? You might should have put it on your face.
Yes. That'd be cool. Like tattoo your face as the lion.
That would hurt.
And then tattoo your eyeball with the cross and a tear.
That would hurt.
Yeah, that would be very painful. But people do
Well,
it.
I'm very hot natured, so it's rare that I got long sleeves on.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen you with long sleeves.
I ain't got no sleeves on today, and it's kind of cool
Yeah?
outside.
I mean, it's not really that cool. If it's not cool to me, come on,
The
Chris.
wind's blowing.
The wind,
It's
yeah,
cool.
the wind has picked up since we've gotten inside.
Well, it was blowing when I got here. Me and him was standing there, and I was like, man, they got these short breeches on and my sleeveless shirt's kind of cool. Let's go in the shed.
Yeah, out of the wind. That's what makes it worse is the wind.
You're going back to the start of you was talking about how you think that's one of your gifts of encouragement.
Yeah.
Is that you think that's a spiritual gift, or have you always kind of had that gift?
Man, I think it's a spiritual gift, yes. But I know that I've not always used it maybe the way I should. I can remember even as a kid trying to build up my friends and stuff and, tell them what I thought about them, in a good way.
This is what I really think, boy.
And I'm sure I told some in a bad way, but I remember when I first got into law enforcement this was in 2002-ish, being en route to the jail and praying with the guy that was in the back seat. I slid open the little window in the back of the patrol car, and he put his face up there, and me and him prayed going down the interstate headed to the jail. So, it's a spiritual gift. I've not always used it as the Lord called me to do, and that's my fault. We fail every day seems like, and I wish that I would have got a hold of that part, the ministry side of law enforcement sooner, and used it for what it is. And again, that's what the younger guys that's coming up in law enforcement, I try to tell them that so that they can get it early.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a lot of Christian men getting into law enforcement around here?
There's a lot of men that have been in law enforcement. It's like I said, there's a movement. And there's a movement in law enforcement where these men that, used to be rough and tough, they're still rough and tough. Don't get me wrong. But the Lord's moving on their heart.
Yeah.
I went up to one of the local police departments the other day, and I'm standing there talking, and it wasn't even a minute, the conversation went to Jesus. And we're talking about exactly what the ministry and law enforcement, and hey, I wish you guys would get a hold of it early, and talking about different experiences and stuff, and they're young, so if they can take their whole career and use it as a ministry, the hearts that can be changed. Man, oh man, oh man.
One of the reasons I asked that is I don't know. It's hard kind of to evaluate yourself. I don't know if I have a spiritual gift of encouragement, but I have got better since I've matured in encouraging people. But I can tell you one thing that is definitely a spiritual gift is whatever this is that we're doing, before Jesus, never would have even entertained doing something like this. Not even close.
Yeah.
And that's one reason I asked you that. If that is like a spiritual gift that you got, or is that something that you were just kind of born with? Because I don't even know what you would call what we're doing here, if it's teaching, if it's discipleship, I don't even know. But that is not something that came natural to me.
Yeah.
Borderline miraculous. And you can, Courtney could tell you. It's like I was not a people person.
And now here you are,
Yeah.
getting noticed in public.
What you're doing is being part of the movement that we're seeing going on in the world.
Yeah.
You're allowing yourself to be used in that movement. You know, sometimes we grow humble. The Lord will humble us down to, hey, I need you to do this.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I've called you to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think last week y'all were talking about Jonah and the whale and different things.
Yeah.
You know, for a while he'll say, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. This is what I've called you for. And then sometimes you start smelling fish.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're in that belly of,
Yeah.
the whale.
Mm-hmm.
And you're, you know, kind of, I don't want to say forced into, but it's made more apparent. Hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And so I've been through that, you know, and it wasn't necessarily that I knew what I was supposed to be doing necessarily, but it's also a preparation process, you know, and yeah, I've been in that belly. Yeah.
Things will start getting uncomfortable, and you're like, you know, maybe I ought to just do what he's called me to do.
Well, and that's what we were kind of talking about, is that we want to get to a place where we heed his calling and his direction before we have to get to that place, before we have to get to the belly of the fish to listen. We want to heed that right away and help and know how to understand and discern that is his calling. Jump into it before we have to suffer consequences that we don't want to, or, you know, maybe not suffer consequences, but live a life that we don't, is less comfortable or less whatever. And not that being obedient right away leads you to constant comfort, because he doesn't call us to comfort. Right. But we can avoid a lot of problems if we just are obedient. Just like our kids. You know, if our kids are just obedient, they have a nice life. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be things going on. But if they ain't, there's going to be discipline. And it gets a little rough.
But you know, you brought up comfortable. We went over this in man church too. And this can apply to encouraging people or whatever, but we were talking about some of the things that make us uncomfortable. And for a long time, funerals, we were talking more of a like a men's situation. Like if somebody's lost a kid, or if, you know, something's happened to their kids or their wife has left them or whatever, and men are just broke, you know, that makes me uncomfortable, and I think it makes most men uncomfortable. You don't want to see another man broke down. Mm-hmm. But you know, when we're brothers, we're supposed to walk with them through that, and we need to get better at being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Mm. I think
that was a mouthful. That's good.
There's a lot of truth there.
Yeah.
We're entirely too comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here you are on a podcast.
Well, that's part of the. I may have even told you that this makes me uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I did.
Oh, you did
several times.
Oh yeah, I remember making jokes about having a huge flag on the back of my truck saying the Forging Podcast, Brett McKinney, and big deal or whatever, and just driving through town with it because he
But,
didn't
yeah.
want anybody to know.
Now I've got pretty comfortable
Yeah.
with this. So
So now you've got to
what's
take it
the
up a notch.
What's
Yeah.
the next? I need to get more uncomfortable.
Get behind that camera. That's the next step. Get behind the
I
camera.
don't know.
Oh, you're getting there. You're getting there, Brett.
I
You will be
wasn't
there.
thinking camera.
You're thinking 2 cameras.
No, he's thinking speaking in front of a group of men.
Live audience?
Ooh. That would be
I
tough.
don't know about that.
That-
I would struggle big time.
I do.
I
I've tried
can run my mouth behind a microphone, but if I have to talk in front of a group of guys, I'm like,
Hey,
I'd rather just not say anything.
you get on a platform and start speaking, it gets hot.
You ain't kidding.
It gets hot. Like your hands will start
Yep.
sweating.
Voice starts shaking. I
Cracking.
always
Oh,
sound
my
like I'm about to
goodness.
cry. In fact, I had somebody somebody asked them to do that here a while back, and shoot, this may be speaking to him. I don't know, but we talked about the same thing. She said, I can sit behind this microphone. I can talk to you all day long.
Yeah.
We can, but if I get up in front of people and those lights are just burning on
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
my voice will start shaking. I sound like I'm about to cry. I'm sweating. I can't, my thoughts are, it's a mess.
It's hard. Yeah.
If you'll notice, a lot of people, when they first start getting up in front of people speaking, and you see them put their hand on the podium or whatever's in front of them, it's because that hand's shaking like that right there. And they don't want nobody to see
They
it.
think they're waving goodbye.
Yeah, they don't want nobody to see it, so they put it down so it'll be still.
Man. It's very possible.
But maybe, maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to say no.
There you go.
We've
But,
learned, learn not to say no.
I've had people talk about maybe, you're going to be preaching before long, and my response is to that. I won't say no, but I would be very, very surprised.
God's going to have to punch me in the face with that one.
I don't even want to get punched in the face, but I don't think I don't think that's my calling.
Yeah.
Hey, Robbie told me how to preach his funeral. Guess what I did?
Preach his funeral.
Preached his funeral.
And you didn't have a whole lot of time to prep because it was a week later.
Yeah, look, and that whole situation was aligned by God, because I've shared part of my testimony on here, where his family is part of the reason I survived COVID. So Robbie was probably the best friend I've ever had, but that wasn't the end of it. God was aligning other things way on down the line that I didn't even know was coming. But if it wasn't for his family, I would have never made it to UAB.
Really?
Wow.
I would have died in the hospital at Winfield. God's timing and his orchestration of events is just
It's amazing, isn't it?
amazing.
It is. And, you tell that to an unbeliever and they think you're crazy, hocus pocus or whatever. And I even know some who were unbelievers who thought I was crazy. And and I've got to welcome in. Congratulations, you're crazy.
Welcome to the crazy world. Yeah, that's for sure. Man, that's awesome. Well, guys, we about ready to wrap this
I
up.
think so. I'm about to bust.
Uh-oh.
I got to pee.
Yeah, we can't have that. Old Brett and his little bladder over there.
Yep.
I got one more scripture to share. This is the one you asked about in the very beginning. Matthew 7:3. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? So that's kind of like, to me, don't come to my house to sweep off my porch when you ain't took a broom to yours.
I mean, if you want to come to my house and sweep my porch, I'm grateful for that. Just not in
I
the
will.
end.
I'll do whatever you need me to do.
Just don't criticize me in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right,
But
man.
build each other up.
We really need to ponder on that and self-evaluate.
And if that time does come to talk about maybe the splinter in somebody else's eye or whatever, go into that with a very humble attitude.
Yes, yes.
Because we're not any better than anybody else. We're all sinners saved by grace, and no matter how long you've been doing this, no matter how mature you've got, you're still stained by sin.
Mm-hmm. And it's
still
okay.
sinners saved by grace.
Right. It's okay to go into it just like that scripture says.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a plank in my eye.
Yeah. I'm not saying I got it all figured out.
I ain't got it figured out. But I noticed this, whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's pray.
We forgot to pray before.
Yeah, that's all right.
We've started talking.
Forgive us. Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to sit behind these microphones and spread the gospel.
Yes.
Spread encouragement. And I pray that you will help us, one, see the log in our eye before we start noticing splinters in other guys' eyes, and help us encourage and build each other up. And if there is a time when we need to, I guess you'd say, bring correction to someone, help us come into it with humility and out of love to help build that brother up instead of a critical attitude to tear them down. We got to work together to make this all happen. And I guess, forgive us for the times that we didn't come into it with humility and out of love. And I pray, for Chris and the field of work that he's in, and I pray for all these law enforcement officers that are coming into this field and that are Christians. I pray that you encourage them to spread the love of Jesus to everybody that they encounter. Cops get a bad rap for what they do, and you wouldn't have an encounter with them if you weren't misbehaving. But I just pray that they can come into it with humility as well, to where they can spread the word and spread encouragement and love so that they do see positive outcomes. It may not be every single person that they encounter, but that one is huge, and we're thankful for that. So we just ask that you be with them and encourage them and protect them as well while they're out there, facing the task that they are placed with. So we thank you, praise you for all that you're doing for us and have done for us. And we just pray that you'll bless this week and bless those listening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you guys for listening. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram and follow us so you can stay up to date with latest podcast drops and content. Also, feel free to leave us a review on whatever streaming platform you're listening from. We'll catch you next week.